What's up, everybody? We'll get rolling here in just a second. Let me just do some social media here in just a minute. By the way, I am very strongly considering hiring someone to do some social media for me. So if anybody knows anybody or would be willing to do that for a very bad rate, because I can't pay you a lot, let me know. That would be a big help. So let me just grab this here, send this here, and throw that in there. All right. Utah Hockey Club just won over the St. Louis Blues, 4-2 from the Gateway Arch Place, St. Louis. There's what's St. Louis's nickname, by the way? It's like a city. I mean, because San Diego's like America's finest city, Chicago's the Windy City, New York's the Big Apple. Does St. Louis have a nickname like that? If you know, tap in, and make your voice heard. And obviously, oh shoot, okay. Don't worry, guys. We're still getting all the kinks worked out here. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna give people just a minute here to tune in, and then we'll get rolling here. Awesome. Okay. Sweet. Hey, Utah. Woo! Just beat the St. Louis Blues by a score of 4-2. It was a game that made me a little bit nervous, and let me just say this, as someone who is very much enjoying watching the Gateway to the West. Thank you, Jordan Rice. I knew that. I knew the Arch was like something. Yeah, that makes sense. Gateway to the West. I feel like that's something you learn playing like Oregon Trail or something. I feel like that's like a little bit part of the game is going through the Gateway of the West. I don't. Maybe I'm just not remembering the game Oregon Trail very well. That's a fun game, by the way. Imagine if they had like a Red Dead Redemption sort of, I guess, downloadable content where you could just play the Oregon Trail. I think people would really like that. So that's an idea right there. I think Rockstar is probably gonna take that idea and run to the bank with it. But Jordan lived in St. Louis for 6 years. That explains it. Well, I'm glad you're here. My uncle used to live in St. Louis too for a little bit. Maybe you knew him. Probably not though. But anyway, yeah. Let's get talking about some frickin' hockey now. Utah Hockey Club bounces back. They're back at 500. I guess in a way, right? I mean, five wins, 5 losses, 3 overtime losses. So I guess a little bit below 500, but still an equal amount of wins in regulation and losses in regulation. So I guess that's pretty good. Really important to get 2 points on the road against a divisional opponent, the St. Louis Blues. It was a game that it was so funny how the game started like in a flash, right? Michael Kesselring scores with 18 seconds off the clock. That's all it took for him to find the back of the net. And let me just say this: I am really digging Michael Kesselring right now. I think he is someone to really keep an eye on, someone who's going to be a really important member of this team, especially if they continue to have defensemen drop like flies. You know what I mean, Jeff? Jeff, it was a great game. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in, Jeff. I really, really like Kesselring's game. I think getting him involved offensively is smart and very important. Think about how important it is for him to be a part of the game. Think about like the impact he's made already. Not only does he have, I believe, the fastest goal in the NHL in terms of least amount of time off the clock. He also has like the second hardest shot in the entire league this year. I think that he had a shot that hit the post against the Rangers. I believe that was about 103 miles an hour, just under 104. The guy is a serious offensive weapon from the blue line. And I think we see in the games where the Utah Hockey Club plays very well, the more they get their defense activated and playing offense Roy, I'm going to touch on that in just a second. Good point, though. Thank you, Roy. Hey, whatever you guys want to talk about, too, just throw it in the chat, and I'm happy to touch on it. And obviously be nice to each other, too. You know, I can see there's 3 of you in the chat. God forbid 3 of you, start bickering. I don't want a 2-on-1 situation either. All right, so behave in the chat, okay? But I know you guys will. Mavlam did do well in his first NHL fight. I'd love to talk about that for just a sec. But again, super big to get Kesselring involved. I think he's going to have a really important role in this team. It was interesting because Mavlam's fight and his ejection was kind of the seminal moment of this game. I was like, okay, this is going to go one way or the other. Like he got the fighting penalty right, totally, expected, whatever. I thought the hit that he laid on the guy that ultimately resulted in his ejection, was not anything more than like a regular hockey play. It's interesting to think about this. Had that play not ended in a fight, would they have even gone to replay on that incident? Right. I have to think maybe it just looked enough like a bang hockey play. But obviously, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who was on the ice there when, and I'm totally going to say his right, Torpachenko, got hit by Mavlam. I think he took issue to that. Maybe he saw that it was knee on knee. I still feel like it was unintentional. Mavlam is he has long legs. He's a frickin' giraffe out there on the ice. I mean, sometimes the legs are gonna stick out, all right? Just don't go crazy when that happens, all right? When the legs stick out, they might hit someone else's legs. It's just the way it goes when you have long legs. Let's just stop right there and talk about the fight for a second. Mavlam is awesome. I really like. Hello. Okay, there it is. Hi. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Roy. You know what it is? It's this $25 microphone. SLC Puck Studios, where I do the podcast. I know it looks like a rinky-dink operation, but all that podcasting equipment that I've got, like a mixer, I've got like a computer. That's just cost me like probably $3,000 to put that studio together. Here in my apartment, I'm doing the live shows with a $20 microphone here, so we'll upgrade this studio as well as we go. You know what would help is if you buy like some of these hats on slcpuck.shop, make a donation. That'd be cool. Then we'll get a better post game show for you guys. That's definitely a priority. But where did I leave off? I was talking about Mavlam. I really like him. I really like what he brings to this team. It was fun to see him. I believe he made his debut against the Avalanche. Fact check me on that. I'm sort of just going off my memory. And he had a huge smile on his face, and I really feel like he hasn't lost it that much. He brings a ton of enthusiasm, great energy to the team. He plays really well too. He plays like a first rounder. He makes really nice, decisive. I cut out right when I started talking about the fight. Thanks, Roy. Mavlam is a great player. He's going to be a really important player for this team. He already is, and he's only 20 years old. It's kind of fun to think about where he's going to be as a 21-year-old, as a 22-year-old, as a 23-year-old. He's going to be an unbelievable 25-year-old defenseman with 5 years of NHL experience under his belt. He is a great player, and I think today it was really evident how important he is to this team, because his presence asked a lot out of the rest of the defensive group. Just looking here at the box score, and I'll just put up my second screen here. Mav Lamb gets ejected pretty early into the second period. He had only logged 5 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time. But the fact that he slips out of the rotation forces a bunch of double shifts, a bunch of, adjustments by the coaching staff. Mikhail Sergachev ended up playing 28 minutes tonight, which is a truckload of minutes. And I was looking at this earlier too. Where did I lost the tab. The NHL stat leaders here. Like this to me is pretty telling here. Like this, Mikhail Sergachev is being asked to do a lot, and he already gets asked to do a lot. He was being asked to do even more tonight. So they're just looking here. This is the NHL player skating stats for the season. I believe this is not. I think this is updated actually. Yeah, 13 games played. I think this is updated now. So Mikhail Sergachev is 4th in the NHL in average time on ice per game at 25 minutes. So they asked him to play an additional 2 minutes and 34 seconds more than his average workload already. And it's like, gosh, he's a great player. I mean, we saw him do some, he covers the ice at 200 feet sometimes. Does a great job on the power play. He plays on all 3 units: penalty kill, power play, even strength. They ask a lot out of him, though. That's a shitload of ice time, and he was expected to do even more tonight. To me, I think that underscores not only like his importance on the team, but also like the fact that like there's such a workload to pick up when any one of these guys goes out of the game. The fact that they lost one of their more effective players, young players, guy who does a lot of things right in Mav Lamb, is huge. Mav Lamb for only playing 5 minutes and 26 seconds in the game, he's among the team's leaders in hits. He registered 2 hits in just that short amount of ice time, and only Mikhail Sergachev had more at 3, and he played almost 23 minutes longer than Mav Lamb. So that tells you that Mav Lamb really has this important physical presence. It's so crazy. He's 20 years old. He's got to be one of the youngest guys on the team, if not the youngest, and he throws his body around as much, if not more, than any of them. And it was so cool to watch him in the fight. You never forget your first. That's what they say. And I was talking to someone who had played hockey in the NHL about this, and he remembers his first fight, extremely well. Mav Lamb's not going to forget his first fight against Pierre-Olivier Joseph, but he did a great job. He hung in there. He fought like a man. He fought like an absolute man. He stood his ground. The dude's a tree. He was rooted in the ice. He was incredibly stable. Threw some great punches. Was tossing Joseph around, sort of like a rag doll at a certain point. Threw him on the ice. I think it's safe to say he won that fight. And to me, it just underscores that this guy is a physical menace. He's going to be one for years to come. He's 20 years old. How many times do we need to say this? Do you know how old he's going to be next year? He's going to be just 21. In 2 years from now, when Donald Trump's halfway through his presidency, and it's none of that. No, and then leave your comments there. I'm just trying to be funny. But he's only going to be 22 years old. That's crazy, and he's already such an effective physical presence for the Utah Hockey Club. He's going to be a really important piece in this team. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys really grow up, because I think that needs to happen, and needs to happen fast. Again, the physicality has to be there more. And I think that's going to happen as this team gets older, gets more mature. I think there are points in the game where I was like, all right, guys, now's the time to step up and be effective. Roy Wall, if you're good enough, you're old enough, totally. But just think about the possibilities, Roy, would you? Jordan, yeah, you're maybe. I'm just being funny. That's all, Jordan. Okay. Because I do think this team does need to continue to grow up, and I think a lot of times their youth and let's just call it immaturity kind of shows sometimes. I think there are moments when there could be a lot more team toughness. There was a little kerfuffle with what's his name? He's the captain of the team, Clayton Keller, where he was caught up, getting pushed around behind the net, and nobody stood up for him. I'm like, this guy's your captain. He's your leader. let him know that his leadership is appreciated. He would be standing up for you. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask his teammates to stand up for him. Didn't see it. It was interesting. I was watching the game and I noticed that, and someone else texted me right off the bat and said, "Why is no one standing up for Keller?" And I don't know. And I think the answer is just because it's still a group of young guys, and I think as this team gels together, plays more, pick up these hard-earned road victories against divisional opponents, you're going to see them grow up. To me, this was a big moment, a big growing up moment for this team. Again, let's just look here at the box score. Jeff makes a great point. They were definitely more noticeably aggressive tonight, and I mean that's just obvious on the stat sheet. And the first thing that us fans of the Utah Hockey Club look at as we've been watching this team play all year, the shot total. That's the first, besides the score, the first thing that I think we all look at when we're trying to figure out what's happening with this team is the shot total. And the shots were very much lopsided in favor of the Utah Hockey Club. They outshot St. Louis 31-15. Hits favored St. Louis 30-21. Face-offs won. Utah won the majority of those. They won 59%. Power play opportunity, again, a little disappointing for Utah. They had 2 power play opportunities. I believe they only had 1 shot on power plays too, which I thought was a little disappointing. I think a lot of this is because they're still trying to find new ways to score. I think they've been one-dimensional for a while, all that stuff. So I think the power play is going to continue to evolve. So hopefully they'll pick up some more goals and see some of those opportunities cash in. Hopefully against Nashville. It's their next game. I don't know if you guys knew that, the Nashville Predators. Going back, I mean, as I do while I watch the game, I'm always taking notes because I can't just watch a game. I'm the son of a sports writer. I wanted to be a sports writer myself. I wanted to do this kind of thing, so I'm not used to watching the game like a fan. I watch it like someone who wants to pretend to be a sportscaster in their basement, which is what I'm doing. So yeah, I mean, some more notes that I took. Oh, look, hey, one of my friends just tuned in to my live. Hello, new friend. How are you? Gosh, now I'm all nervous because I gotta perform here. I gotta execute here with my new friend here. That's funny. Okay, and they just sent me a picture of me doing this. Okay. Anyway, this game had a lot of ebb and flow. I think Utah started the game very fast. Obviously, they scored the goal in the blink of an eye in 18 seconds. But I think they really did dominate the first half, the first period. At a certain point, I think they had 5 or 6 shots before St. Louis had even registered their first. And St. Louis, I wrote this down, didn't register their first shot until about 6 minutes into the game. So to me, that was like, the first ebb, right? There's ebb, there's flow, there's this, there's that. Jordan, I think we're gonna see some moves here in a second. I'll touch on that in just a minute. Remind me to get to that in just a second. But I think Utah in the second half of that first period lost a lot of momentum. And then I would just say thank God Mav Lamb showed up early in the second period and provided that physical spark that they needed. I think we see a lot of times as hockey fans how a fight can really rally a team, add some energy. I mean, if you play NHL 25, you get a little momentum energy bonus, right? After a fight. I think that actually really does happen in real life, especially at the NHL level. That's certainly what Liam O'Brien is paid to do, right? He didn't play tonight and, plays few and far between. But Mav Lamb, I think his fight really gave them that spark. And it's kind of an interesting sort of paradox, right? There was the spark that provided, but then the team had to overcome the fact that he was gone for the rest of the game. Again, I thought it was a soft call. I think that rule needs to be adjusted for intent, whatever. That's what I think. But Dominic Moore said this at the end of the game. He said Utah won this in the second period by weathering the storm, and I think that was very much the case. St. Louis's pressure really heated up right there in the second. But you have to give a lot of credit to Connor Ingram. I thought at times he played a very excellent game, made some fantastic saves. He's the kind of guy, like, you look at him, you look at his picture. I mean, you guys know what Connor Ingram looks like, right? You see his picture, You see him smiling. He just kind of looks like a pretty normal dude. You would never guess that this guy can do a full splits on the ice. And I mean, do I look like a guy who can do the splits? Hell no. What does a guy who can do the splits look like? I don't know, something like Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's the only thing I can think of when I think of a guy who can do the splits. I picture Jean-Claude Van Damme, not Connor Ingram. You know what I mean? So he made some really impressive split saves. Where I'm like, yeah, goddamn, he might have saved the game with that one. Again, they weathered the storm in the second period. They get a big goal at the end by Matias Maccelli, who has been heating up big time. I think he has 3 goals in his last 5 games. Adrian Denny tweeted that out during the game. That was a crucial moment. That gave Utah a lot of momentum heading into the third period. But again, ebbs and flows, right? Utah played very well. Utah played very poorly in parts of the game, and the periods were kind of split that way. I thought that this half of the first period was good for Utah. The second half of the first period was more favored towards St. Louis. The second period, I think Utah did a great job of weathering the storm, and then got a nice bump at the end on the goal by Maccelli. But then the first half of the second period, I think, was really St. Louis's. And again, I love listening to Dominic Moore call the games because he sees the game really well. And you feel like he knows what's going to happen minutes before it does. And he was watching Utah just very passively flip the puck up into the air, just hey, whatever. We're just trying to get some time off the clock. We already have the lead. What do we need another goal for? We already have the lead, for hell's sake. And he's like, they're not playing assertively, and the puck's going to come back in their zone. It's going to cause trouble. Sure enough, St. Louis scores. Oh my God, St. Louis scores. I'm going to say his name wrong. Kyrou scores off a nice little play that came off of a neutral zone turnover. It was just the way Dominic Moore described it. They weren't playing aggressively. It was what Nick Olczyk would call a very soft play in the neutral zone. The puck comes back. St. Louis gets a good look at the net. Connor Ingram's a little out of position, and they get the goal. And at that point, I was like, this is trouble. Utah's got to get back into this game. They've got to be aggressive. They got to be assertive. They need a moment, right? And sure enough, they got the moment. And I think for me, it was just so telling of how important like every little moment in a game is, because Dylan Guenther's goal started with a very benign, very routine sort of play. I mean, he just stuck his stick out. And look, look at this play is what won the game for Utah. This is how simple it was, okay? This is how simple the play that won the game was, okay? That's it. That's all that had to be done to win this game. Dylan Guenther gets his stick out, blocks a pass, and he gets essentially a breakaway, 2-on-1 opportunity. The puck bounces off the St. Louis player's shin pads, goes into the net as he's trying to pass it, to his teammate on the 2-on-1. Goes in. Dylan Guenther called it a greasy goal after the game. It was a little greasy, I'd say. I mean, it wasn't quite dusty. It was greasy, though, for sure. But, I mean, to me, it just shows, just how important every little play is, especially in the defensive zone. And I really do like watching Dylan Guenther's game. I have been critical. I do think at certain points, his game is a little one-dimensional, especially on the power play. And I think he needs to find new ways to score. And he did that. The way he did that tonight was with a very simple but effective defensive play that did lead to a greasy goal, but a goal nevertheless capped off by an empty net goal by our boy Jack McBain. Hey Roy, thanks for laughing at me. I don't know why that got me out of breath. I think it's because I've been talking nonstop for 25 minutes. And believe me, it takes a tremendous amount of stamina to do this, to talk nonstop. My jowls are burning right now. I'm a yapper, but I yap too much. And Jeff put it a great way. That was the puck luck they needed. The puck bouncing off of the shin pad of the St. Louis Blues defender, who was sliding through almost through the crease to stop the pass. That was puck luck, but sometimes that's what you need, and you take it when it happens. You can call it greasy, but it's a greasy game-winning goal, and that was big for Utah, and that led to them getting this big divisional win here. Let's see, what else was I going to talk? Jordan wants to know how long they'll keep Doan down in Tucson. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be long. It might, because I do think you're going to see some trades happen soon. And this is something that Corey, my guy over at the Clean Hits podcast, has been reporting on. I think he might have some inside information, or at least a very good hunch. And I can understand his line of thinking. It does seem like the Utah Hockey Club is probably going to trade Michael Carcone. He played tonight. He dressed for the first time in, I think, like 8 or 9 games. And to me, I think the reason why they did that was sort of to get back into the flow of having a 12-6 lineup, you know, with 12 forwards and 6 defensemen, just to sort of get back into that rhythm as a team. But I think they also wanted to showcase him tonight to potential suitors. I think they wanted to show teams that, you know, he's still in shape, he can get up and down the ice. Hey, maybe he can even collect a point or get a goal and raise his trade value even more. But the fact is, Michael Carcone is a good player. He's going to be a really good trade piece for the Utah Hockey Club. He might be their best trade piece right now, to tell you the truth, considering the fact that he's a 20-plus goal scorer and is on a league minimum contract. I'm not certain that there are a lot of guys like that in the NHL, and that's going to be something very attractive to a lot of teams. So, Jordan, I'd say it's about the same as like basketball, if that's a good frame of thinking about it. It does happen. I think it differs in the sense that hockey is kind of a blend in terms of like transactions and moves. It's a blend of basketball and baseball. Basketball, they do use the G League a little bit in the NBA. You do see guys go up and down, but not in the same way that it's used like in baseball, right? Where guys go up and down between AAA and Major League often. It's kind of a blend of the two in hockey, if that makes sense. And that's just due to the size of the roster and injuries and the physical nature of the sport and, you know, blah, 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 how that's all set up. I think you'll see that happen a lot more in a few years. I think you'll see a lot of movement between Utah Hockey Club's AHL franchise and the big league club, especially if you've been following my show, SLC Puck. You know my big theory is that the Utah Grizzlies are going to be bumped up to the AHL, that Ryan Smith is going to purchase the Grizzlies and the Maverick Center, use the Maverick Center as sort of this gathering spot for West Side families to enjoy professional sports, Salt Lake City Stars, and the AHL affiliate, Utah Grizzlies. That's my theory. So I think when that happens, when the Grizzlies are the AHL affiliate and they're not having to fly guys down to Tucson, fly them back up, I think you'll see a lot of movement on the NHL roster. I think they'll really utilize the proximity that the two teams will have to each other. So I'd say what you're seeing right now, Jordan, is pretty new. What? Hold on. What are we? Alex and Paul. Yeah, Paul Correa. A PWHL team. I think that's I think that's something to watch for. I really do. I think, maybe I need to, Roy, totally, it almost makes too much sense. There's no way it's not going to happen. I might have talked to some people who might have information. They might have told me that it might make a lot of sense to them too. I'll just put it that way. So, Alex, I do think a PWHL team is a strong possibility too. I have talked about this on SLC Puck. I think we saw that, getting involved in women's sports is something that's really important to Ryan Smith. Obviously, first thing he did after he bought Real Salt Lake was bring back the Utah Royals, because he knew that was important to the overall brand of the sports culture he's trying to bring here in Utah. The PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, has stated that they want to add 2 more teams. They're currently putting, the 2 franchises up for RFP, request for proposal. I am metaphysically positive. I have no confirmation on this. I don't have a way to confirm this. I would be shocked if Smith Entertainment Group does not submit a request for proposal to bring a PWHL team to Utah, to also maybe be a tenant in the Maverick Center when they inevitably buy it, and the Grizzlies. So how's that for a big theory? The next year, Smith Entertainment Group will buy the Maverick Center, the Utah Grizzlies, move them up to the AHL, and be in the running for a PWHL team. I am pretty certain all three of those things are very realistic possibilities. Alex, you're too kind. I'm not a big... Get this clear. Get this through your heads, people, okay? I want you to understand this. I am not a journalist anymore. I'm not a journalist right now when I'm doing SLC Puck. I'm just a fan. I'm just seeing the tea leaves come together. Like, I'm noticing things that make sense to me based on Ryan Smith's personality, based on, like, you know, his interest, based on what I would do, what I think makes a lot of sense. This is not reporting at all. I'm not reporting this at all. It's not a fact. Nobody's told me anything. Well, some people told me a few things, but most of what I say are just my observations and my guesses. I'm not lying, Alex. I don't have the info. I don't have the sources. If I really wanted to, maybe I could get this info. A lot of this is just sort of very educated guessing here. But I would like to get this on the record so that when it does happen, when the Utah Hockey Club does unfurl the Yeti name, that when they do go all in on a Junior Yetis youth hockey program, when they do purchase the Maverick Center, when they purchase the Utah Grizzlies, when they get in the running for a PWHL team, and I'm getting so excited I'm almost knocking my hat off my head. I just want to be on the record saying I fucking called it. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm just saying all this right now. I'm putting it on the internet where it'll live forever and where you guys can know that I'm the smartest person in the world. I've been talking for 32 minutes right now. I don't know how much of that I spent talking about the game. Probably quite a bit. Probably, I don't know, 2/3 of it, I guess. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching me, guys. SLC Puck Live. Loving it. Having a lot of fun. Thanks for being a part of this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this video. Subscribe to the channel. Podcast episodes every Wednesday and Sunday for the most part. You can find them on KSL.com. And just to be clear, even though it's on KSL.com, which is a very reputable news source, I'm not a journalist. I don't know how the fuck that my show got on KSL.com. Okay, it just did. Don't call me a journalist. All right, I'm just a hockey fan, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in and joining me and being a part of everything that's happening. And I need to take a walk. I'm getting all worked up, so we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.